But this lists at the moment 1,570 history teachers on Twitter. All of these sentences are their little profile bio, and all this program does, it's an automated facility. And each day it searches Twitter for anyone who's joined Twitter that have described themselves as having an interest in history and history teaching and education. And then it lists them in here. What this enables you to do, in other words, if you sign up with a Twitter account, is immediately find a network of history teachers that you might be able to follow. Now, as I say, you might want to know what the purpose and the use of Twitter is. I was rather cynical about it at first. I just thought 140 characters, you can't actually say very much, and what can it be useful for? But it's an incredibly useful way of just chucking out a useful link, tweeting a picture of something you do in your class, asking for advice or guidance on a particular issue. And the way I've used it, I'll just show you secondly the historians on Twitter, and you can search this, but I'll show you better from the historians on Twitter facility. So I'm just dropping down to historians on Twitter there. This does a similar thing where it's searching for the keyword historian or professor of history or something like that. And we've now got over 2,000 professional historians on Twitter. And this is the way in which I got through to Orlando Fuges to bring us full circle back to the beginning of my talk earlier on. And I just got in touch with him via Twitter. In fact, he put a tweet onto Twitter saying, would anyone like to trial my new website? And I trialed his website, gave him some feedback on it, given the fact that I've got a website myself and I know what I'm talking about in that regard, at least. And that's where the conversation started. And from there, it eventually kind of stemmed into him agreeing to do a YouTube talk. A number of other historians have agreed to do so as well now, and I'm just scheduling them for different points of the year. But let's say you're interested in, I'm typing this in, you can type in Cold War, and then it immediately lists historians who have an interest in that particular topic. Now you might then be able to contact them on Twitter, either to suggest they could have a Google Hangout with your students, which would be a really exciting opportunity, or you could at least maybe send them a few questions. Or again, let's say you've got a student who's doing an extended project, and to get extra credit, they could directly contact a relevant historian. Impossible to do that directly through Twitter itself, but what you can do is go into this facility here and just type in, I don't know, but there you go, just typed in Stalin, and 2 historians have got a profile which stresses that they have a particular interest in Stalin or something related to Stalin, and you can contact them directly. I've got a startup guide for Twitter incidentally, which I can share with David, which gives you step-by-step instructions on how you could get started and sort of people to follow on Twitter if you're a history teacher. But my tweet deck looks like this. This is an application called TweetDeck. I know that looks rather kind of overwhelming. That's just me being a bit disorganized. And basically, you can set up a column where you can filter it just to include the people you're following or people who are using the hashtag historyteacher. If you put that into your tweet, you see, it appears in a particular column in Twitter, which might sound a bit abstract at the moment, but it's very, very simple once you get used to it. It's basically a little bit of garbage you put at the end of your tweet. And that then means that if you search for history teacher, anyone who's posting with that hashtag appears in one column. And if you get an idea of that, for example, it's just people tweeting some ideas of things they're using in class. It could be somebody sharing a link, as this person is here. The next one is saying, on this day, something happened, which might be interesting if you're teaching that related topic. This one here is asking a question about how do I relate something to ancient Greece, and they want a reply. But you can see just from a handful of tweets there, it's links, it's kind of suggestions, it's what's going on in classrooms. And every day I get a handful of good ideas, which I'll just simply bookmark or make a little note of. And it's just endlessly inspiring. And the amount of times I've simply asked for a direct answer to a question on Twitter and just got one within a minute or two, it's quite amazing, really. The one which professional historians use is a hashtag called Twitterstorians. And from that hashtag, you get all professional historians posting links and comments. And I found some useful contacts there as well.